favorite because he should be. He should be a big favorite. You have Volk in the overall GOAT convo just based on a close fight with Islam. Wait. What? I have Volk in the overall GOAT convo because of a close fight with Makhachev and beating a guy he has a good style to beat. 3 times. It's crazy that Max Holloway was given 3 opportunities to beat Volk and he lost all 3. And then outside of that, he also beat Jose Aldo. He beat Chad Mendes, which is arguably Aldo's best ever featherweight win. And Chad Mendes is still a beast. Chad Mendes is still not even that old. Volk beat him. That's the best win Aldo had before he fought any of the GOATs at featherweight that knocked his ass out. So, yeah, you're damn right that I have Volk ahead of Mighty Mouse. I mean, wait a second. Name me a single Mighty Mouse win outside of Henry Cejudo that's that impressive. Name me a single all-time great. Thank you for the $2. You see an MMA clown show, talk smack, seems jealous. I feel like I've seen a thumbnail for MMA clown show, but I've not seen the channel. Thank you for the $5. Zombie, DJ beats Kyoji Horiguchi 20 years ago. Better than any of Volk's wins. Yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi 20 years ago is better than any of Volk's wins. Okay, this is the kind of bait that we're dealing with right now, but it's obviously bait. Come on, guys. Like, you can't honestly make a good argument for Demetrius Johnson being better than Volk other than title defenses, which is, of course, the worst argument. Or this is just the popular take and I'm going to run with it because I haven't actually thought of it. He beat Ray Borg. He beat Tim Elliott. And he beat an old head, 1FC guy who also knocked him out as well, which is a good win. But I'm just saying they're not on the same level as beating Max Holloway, not once, twice. Wait a second. No, not twice. Wait, did he beat him 3 times? Oh, shit. Volk beat Max 3 times. That's insane. That is insane. And not only did he beat Max 3 times, he beat Aldo, he beat Mendes, he beat Yair, he beat Ortega, he beat TKZ. He beat Darren Elkins, and he damn near beat Islam Makhachev. What's up? Damn near beat Makhachev. Nah, I just rewatched that fight before I hopped on the stream, guys. It was not even that close. Every time I watch Volk versus Makhachev 1, it becomes more clear that Volk didn't win that fight. I literally rewatched that fight right before I hopped on stream after I posted my video. And even though it was competitive, like, it was so clear that Islam won that fight. So clear. But yeah, I'm just keeping it honest. I'm not biased. I'm keeping it honest. Don't mention TKZ or Yair in the same convo with a... No. That's the thing. Those guys are obviously not on the same level as Aldo. They're not on the same level as Max. But they're on the same level of basically every single person that DJ has ever beat. Actually, not even. They are better than every person DJ's ever beat outside of Henry Cejudo and the 1FC guy. And they're on the same level as those guys, basically. Like, this is the thing. I'll basically give you guys, like, the example. These are Volk's best wins. Okay? These are Volk's best wins. These are DJ's. And then these are Volk's regular title defenses. These are DJ's regular title defenses. That's the difference. So Volk's regular title defenses are better by a landslide. And Volk's best wins are better. So when you have the better regular defenses and you also have the better regular wins, obviously you have a better resume. DJ literally beat everyone they put in front of him. Well, that's not necessarily true, though, because he was fighting people that weren't even in the top 10. Demetrius Johnson was given time and time again people that weren't even top 10 fighters in his division. They were giving him tough finale contestants. Okay? That's the equivalent to Ilia Topuria fighting one of the people that was on McGregor's season of Tough right now for a title fight. That's like Islam Makhachev fighting Austin Hubbard or Kurt Holoba right now. And you want to sit here and tell me that those title defenses, they mean a lot? Those mean no more than Volkanovski's first 2 wins in the UFC that no one even thinks about. Sorry, but it's true. You're moving the goalpost? I don't even need to move it or keep it the same. You can keep the goalpost the same. Keep the goalpost right where it's at. There's absolutely nothing that Demetrius Johnson has done that is better than Volkanovski. He has lost how many times? How many times has he lost in his career? 4 times? 5 times? Volk didn't lose until he was 35 in the UFC, in his own division. Didn't lose until he was 35 in his own division. Demetrius Johnson lost to Henry Cejudo when he was like 34. And that's not Ilia Topuria. It's just not. Volk was KO'd twice in 4 months. That gets you out the GOAT list. You could just say Demetrius Johnson got chinned in ONE FC. That should get you out the GOAT list as well. But it shouldn't. I think that getting knocked out, depending on who it's against, it's not a bad look, especially if you're old. Volk got knocked out at the age of 35, where no 35-year-old has ever won a single title fight. If there was an example of a 35-year-old that was able to win a title fight at 145, 135, 155, 125, then I would sit here and I would say, you know what? Someone else has done it. Volk couldn't. But it is literally right now never been done. No 35-year-old has never won a title fight in any of the lighter weight classes. So therefore, you can't say, well, Volk never did that, or Volk got knocked. Well, so is everyone else. There's never been someone that's not been beat as a 35-year-old. Volk lost when it was statistically okay to lose. Volk's only loss in his division is when it was statistically permissible to lose. All these other GOATs, when they've lost, it wasn't statistically permissible. Okay? Aldo lost in his early 30s. Usman lost at welterweight when he was 35. Let's look at Kamaru Usman. Usman was 35 when he got head kick KO'd. There have been champions at welterweight at the age of 35. It was not statistically permissible. That's the difference. Yeah, Woodley won. Woodley won. That's the reason why. But Woodley obviously won at 35 because he's at welterweight, which just goes to show that Usman should have been able to win. But because, look, Tyron Woodley won. There's no example of that in the lighter weight classes. Absolutely none. Karasaw with his 0 ranked wins is a better win than Aldo. Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're right. Demetrius Johnson beating Karasaw is obviously a better win than Jose Aldo with 0 ranked wins. 100%. Better than beating the featherweight GOAT. That win has aged well. You guys understand, people know in this chat that Volkanovski is literally a top 5 fighter, and they have no good argument against that. They have no good argument against it. Usman doesn't have an argument. DC doesn't have an argument. Stipe doesn't have an argument. There's literally like 3 fighters that have ever walked the earth that have an argument for being better than Volk. That's GSP, that's John Jones, and that's arguably Demetrius. But no, I can't say Demetrius is better than him. Now, if you really get down to the nitty gritty, there's only 2. There's literally only 2. Only 2. He's top 3. Yeah, no, screw top 5. Volk is top 3 all time. And people can argue with me and I'll like try to nitpick the argument. It's damn near impossible. It's a bulletproof argument. DC is miles better than Volk. What the fuck are you saying? Okay, let's talk about this. DC is better than Volk. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Thank you for the $2. Volk is number 5 at best. He'll never be top 3. All right, well, I can easily shut that argument down. Thank you for the $5. Unironically, I don't think Volk will ever win a fight again. That's the one thing that can potentially drop him down. But let's talk about this. Not better than Daniel Cormier. This is like the easiest argument to destroy. Let's see. Who did Daniel Cormier lose to? He lost to the GOAT, Jones. Nothing wrong with that. And then he lost to number 10 all-time Stipe Miocic when he was an old head. Okay, fair enough. Those losses aren't that bad. They're not that bad. Fair enough. Has that loss aged well? Ilia Topuria just knocked out Volkanovski. He's about to have an entire title reign. Daniel Cormier is getting beat by DC before Daniel Cormier is getting beat by Stipe before Stipe falls off. Stipe is literally falling off. He lost to a washed Stipe. Okay? Now let's talk about DC's wins. DC's best wins. Alexander Gustafsson, Stipe Miocic, where she's lost to twice. And then what else? Dan Henderson. You're going to say he's better than Aldo? You're going to sit here and tell me that Derek Lewis, 5 sets of tomfoolery himself, Volkan Ozdemir, and Rumble? Rumble's pretty good, but guess what? Rumble's on the same level as Yair and Ortega. Rumble's on the same level as Yair Ortega. That's the same sort of title defense. It's just how it is. Let's look at Rumble Johnson record. Rest in peace to Rumble Johnson. So Rumble Johnson's lost to Vitor Belfort. He's lost to Josh Koscheck. He's lost to Kevin Burns. He's lost to Rich Clemente. And he's lost to DC. Interesting. So beating Rumble Johnson. And what were Rumble Johnson's best wins? We got Gus. We got Glover. Ryan Bader. Okay. Big Nog. You know, Rumble's pretty good. I'll give him that. Rumble's pretty good. He's pretty good, but he's not on the same level as Max Holloway. Stop it, you're coping? All right, let's actually, you know what? Let's actually look at this. Let's actually look at this real quick. So we have DC's best wins. Rumble Johnson, Alexander Gustafsson. Volkanovski's best wins. Max Holloway and Stipe Miocic. Stipe's on here too. Max Holloway, Jose Aldo, and Chad Mendes. Okay? If you actually look at Alexander Gustafsson's career, he has a good resume. It's not that clear of Chad Mendes. It's not that clear. Good resume. Close, but fair enough. How does Max compare to Rumble Johnson? DC beat Rumble twice. Okay. Volk beat Max 3 times. Get that out of here. Clear of it. Not only is he a better fighter all time, not only is Max Holloway a top 10 fighter of all time, but he's also beat him 3 times. Okay. Let's look at Jose Aldo. You're going to talk about Stipe? Okay. Where's Stipe on the all-time list? He's behind Aldo. How many times did DC beat him? Once. How many times did Volk beat Stipe? Once. Did Volk lose to... I'm sorry. Fuck! I gotta be on point. How many times did Volk lose to Aldo? 0 times. How many times did DC lose to Stipe? Twice. So 1 win and no losses against Aldo, who is higher on the GOAT list than Stipe, is better than 1 win and 2 losses against Stipe, who's lower on the GOAT list than Aldo. Come on, it's clear as day. Take a look at Stipe's wins. I've already seen Stipe's wins. He beat JDS. Guess what? He also lost to him. He beat DC. Guess what? He lost to him. He beat Ngannou. Guess what? He's 1-1 with him. Stipe lost to, you know, fair enough, there was an eye poke that led to it, but he lost to Stefan Struve. I'm just being honest. Like, you know, you're sitting here and you're comparing apples to oranges. Volkanovski is 100% clear of DC. But fair enough. You know, DC losing as an absolute old head is sort of permissible. Fair enough. But, you know, I don't think his wins are good enough to compete with Volk. I just don't. You know, Volk beat 2 top 10 all-time fighters 4 times overall. DC has 1 win over a top 10 all-time fighter. Well, he has 2 because he beat Anderson Silva, but, you know, it was like a bad version of Silva. But it's an interesting combo. I think that, you know, there's not a great argument to say DC's higher than Volk. Volk has 3 losses and DC has 3, right? I mean, 4 if you want to count the second one with Jones, but he has 3. Both of them have the same losses. It's just Volk has better wins. And in time, when Makhachev continues to catapult himself up the GOAT list, it'll be, you know, similar to DC losing to some of these all-time greats. Stipe always getting walk-off eye poked. Yeah, that is true. Stipe has lost a lot via the eye poke. That is true. Especially that Stefan Struve fight. That was one of the worst eye poke TKOs I've ever seen. 1 step under Bruno Silva, or not Bruno Silva. Yeah, no, Bruno Silva versus Weidman. Just a little bit less worse than that. Thank you for the $5. Extra crispy. Volk can't be top 3 to me because he has multiple losses. He will never get back to the Islam and Ilya. Right now, he's barely top 5. Wait a second. Multiple losses. How many losses does GSP have? GSP lost to Hendricks, if you count robberies. He lost to Matt Serra. He lost to Matt Hughes. So you're talking about losing to Matt Serra versus losing to Islam Makhachev up a weight class. Not even the same thing. Doesn't matter if he avenged the loss. Losing to Matt Serra is unacceptable. Volk wasn't losing to any bums. Okay? Then you have losing to Johnny Hendricks. Dude, I'd rather lose to Islam Makhachev than Johnny Hendricks. Where's Hendricks on the all-time list? He's not even close to Makhachev. Makhachev has a win over Charles and Volk twice. And he was on a 10-fight win streak when he got a title fight. And he still hasn't been beaten. Outside of against Pantoja, of course. But and then he has a loss to Matt Hughes. But Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev are going to pass Matt Hughes within a few years. Makhachev's already passed Matt Hughes. Hey, Lucas, I'm the guy from yesterday in the bar. Sorry again with the interruption. Didn't know you was hanging out with your boyfriend. Interesting. All right. Well, I call cap on that. But thank you for the £5, JC Denton. Thank you for the $5, Chad Hero. DC, Silva. DC, okay. Silva, old-ass Silva. Miocic, Rumble twice. Gus. Okay. Volk, Max 3 times. So already that is a top 10 fighter of all time 3 times. Got it. Aldo, who is a top 5 fighter in the eyes of most people. I have him right outside of the top 5. So right off the bat, Aldo and Max are higher than Silva and Miocic. Okay? And Mendez. Mendez, bro. Okay. What, you know, the funny thing is, people will literally look at the Brian Ortega fight and they won't even count it. They'll just say, Ortega was a bum. Really? How many people has Ortega lost to? 3 losses in his entire UFC career? And you guys are going to sit here and not even count that? Brian Ortega beating him absolutely shits on a Volkanovski win. And I don't even want to fucking hear it. Brian Ortega only gets talked about as a bum because he got beat by Holloway and he got beat by Volk. But he just beat Yair. Brian Ortega schooled TKZ before TKZ was washed. Brian Ortega was undefeated before he fought Max. He had 1 loss going into the Volk fight. And he just won his last fight. And then you're going to sit here and tell me that Yair Rodriguez wasn't on a mean streak? Yair beat the shit out of Josh Emmett better than Ilia Topuria himself. Yair Rodriguez, well, he wasn't on a mean streak because he lost to Max. Yair Rodriguez has like 3 losses in his MMA career. He has a loss to Frankie. He has a loss to Volk. He has a loss to Max. And now Ortega, he's 1-1 with him. Those are good title defenses. That's the thing. People don't want to accept it. Volkanovski's wins over Yair Rodriguez. Don't even compare Derek Lewis to Yair Rodriguez. It's not the same shit. It ain't the same thing. First of all, you want to get real stupid with it? Yair's an interim champ. Yeah! Volk beat a champ. Volk beat an interim champ, buddy. Pipe down. Pipe down, boy. Pipe down, son. Nah, I'm kidding. He didn't beat a champ, but like, come on. Come on, guys. Enough of the bullshit. Enough of the bullshit. Don't even tell me that DC and his win over Dan Henderson is on the same level as beating Yair Rodriguez. All right? Quit playing. TKZ, don't even compare some of these absolute bums. Who was DC beating before he fought Jones and Henderson? Oh, because he beat Roy Nelson. He beat Roy Nelson. Oh, yeah. Yeah, TKZ absolutely shits on Roy Nelson, dude. Stop. Volkanovski's clear, dude. Max is objectively higher on the all-time list than anyone DC has ever beat. Same with Aldo. Now you're going to get down to his best wins. Okay, Rumble, Gus. You know what? Let's look at Gus's resume. All right, you're making me pull out old Gustafsson's resume. This is when you know things are getting ugly. This is when you know things are getting ugly because people don't know about that Gus resume. People don't understand it. This is the big bad Gustafsson. Big bad Gustafsson. Let's check it out. So who did he beat? He beat Shogun. Okay. He beat Jimmy Manuwa, Jan Blachowicz, and Glover Teixeira. So his 3 good wins are over Shogun, Blachowicz, and Teixeira. He's lost to everyone else. Shogun lost to Nikita Krylov. I'm sorry, Gustafsson at the age of 35. 35 years old, lost to Nikita Krylov. Got annihilated by an old head Fabricio Verdum. Got beat by Anthony Smith. Jones twice. DC, Rumble Johnson, do you need me to keep going? Do you need me to keep going? All right? Quit playing around, dude. Quit playing around. And you're telling me DC's got a better resume than Volk. This is the average DC opponent. Let me pull him up. Here's the average DC opponent, guys. I'm pulling him up. Where's DC? And I think DC's top 10 all time, bro. I think he's top 10 all time. Let's get Cormier in here. Okay, let's look. Let's look. Patrick Cummings. Dude, basically has a freaking Gustafsson win streak if there ever was one. Who did Patrick Cummings beat? Oh, John Vellante. Jan Blachowicz, actually kind of crazy. Patrick Cummings was a beast. But this was after he lost to DC. Wow, DC beat a Patrick Cummings that had one fight in the UFC. Crazy. Either way, I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. Volk has 4 all-time wins, guys. DC has 2, and one of them is over an old head Anderson Silva on a day's notice. Enough. If Volk beats Topuria and retires, is he top 2? Yes, he easily is. He's the second best all time. He passes GSP with one more win over Topuria. If he beats Topuria, he's number 2 all time. Thank you for gifting 1 Lucas Tracy MMA membership. I appreciate that. Thank you. Listen, I'm just being honest, guys. I'm just being honest. Come on. If you want to come at me with the all-time list, let's talk about DC versus Stipe. That's where it gets interesting. You want to talk about Volk versus DC? Come on. That's not even a conversation. It can be. If you want me to shut it down, you're high. Again, what is there not to understand? 4 all-time wins. Max the first time, Max the second time, Max the third time, Aldo. And people literally act like Brian Ortega, a number 1 contender in 2021, is just going to be dismissed. They're acting like people weren't picking Yair Rodriguez. The Weasel picked Yair Rodriguez to beat Volk. Bedtime picked Yair Rodriguez to beat Volk. Yair Rodriguez had a better performance against Josh Emmett, one of the most dangerous heavy hitters in his division, than Ilia Topuria. Made him look like light work. And yeah, he got submitted by Brian Ortega. You're going to sit here and act like Ortega submitting him is some kind of a horrible look? Ortega has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC. Brian Ortega's still good. Quit playing. Volk's title defenses are damn near like the same as anyone else's. Outside of all-time wins, his title defenses are decent. I mean, dude, beating Yair is better than beating Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez. Beating Yair is better than beating Eddie, dude. Quit playing. He lost to Ortega, and Ortega beat him too. They canceled each other out. They canceled each other out. You guys are going to sit here and act like Volkanovski and Max Holloway weren't shooting at the legs. It's kind of funny. You guys will sit here and you'll act like beating Yair Rodriguez is not a good win, yet he's the only man to ever drop Brian Ortega, and he dropped him twice. He's the only guy to get Max Holloway to shoot panic takedowns, and he's the only one to ever get Volkanovski to shoot takedowns as well. But it's crazy how they literally say things like, Yair's nothing. Really? He made the pound-for-pound number 1 best fighter on the planet. He made Max Holloway, who just beat Justin Gaethje, shoot takedowns because they were getting lit up and they didn't want to deal with the striking early. And he dropped Brian Ortega, only man to ever drop him. But I guess he's a bum. We'll do a poll. We'll do a poll. But I need you guys to be objective. I need you guys to be objective. What is the poll? Yair was never champ. Eddie was. Yair was an interim champ. Better than Eddie's paper champ status. But yeah, no, you're right. That is true. What is the poll? Who has Yair ever beaten that's actually good? Josh Emmett. Outside of Volkanovski, who has Ilia Topuria ever beat that's actually good? Josh Emmett. I'd say Emmett is a good fighter. Is he not a good fighter? Is he just a horrible win? Like, he's a top 10 fighter. Maybe not top 5, but he beat Emmett. He beat Ortega. He beat Andre Fili. Maybe we could pull it. You want to pull up Yair's resume? I got you. I got you, man. He beat Zombie. Literally knocked out TKZ. In his prime, knocked out prime TKZ. And was whooping him in that fight. People act like TKZ was winning. It was a freaking Yair Rodriguez clear 3-1 going into the 5th. I'm spitting. I'm telling you, I'm spitting, man. Thank you for the $5. Volk and DC are both amazing, and I can see that Volk is better all time, but in general, you only give credit to fighters you were around for. I was around for DC. I was watching Daniel Cormier from 2017 all the way up until he retired, and I watched his fight with John Jones in 2015, so that's just not true. I mean, to be honest, it might be true considering I actually was watching him, so I do give him credit. But, yeah, I don't know if that's 100% true. I give Matt Hughes credit. I say Matt Hughes is arguably top 20 all time. I think that's a good amount of credit. GSP, I wasn't around for watching GSP's majority of his career. I watched his Bisping fight, but, I mean, I didn't watch the most of his career. I still have him number 2 all time. I didn't see Jones as a contender. I still have him number 1 all time. So that's not necessarily true. And this is just a simple math equation. Like, there is a right answer, but let me know. They're gonna vote. They're gonna vote DC because of what everyone else told them, bro. They're gonna vote DC. But guys, you also have to understand, like, Volkanovski losing to Makhachev is literally gonna go down as a top 10 all-time fighter. He's gonna beat Dustin. He's gonna beat another guy. He could win a double champ fight. Makhachev literally might go down as the GOAT of the sport. So, like, losing to Makhachev up a weight class is going to be similar to losing to Jones. And then losing to Ilia Topuria, who also has potential to be the GOAT, is not even that bad. And Volk's wins are just better, straight up. Never being the number 1 fighter in either of his weight classes is pretty bad for DC. That is not necessarily the best. I agree. Like, listen, I don't think that's the most important thing to look at, but that is true. DC was never, without a doubt, the best fighter in his weight class. When he was first fighting at heavyweight, you had Cain Velasquez. I think he may have beaten Cain, honestly, but he chose not to be in that division. He was never better than John Jones, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's like Holloway, right? Holloway losing to Volk. Holloway can't be better than Volk. DC can't be better than Jones. There's no shame in that, but it is what it is. And then Stipe beat him twice. And it's not like DC just was washed. I mean, DC looked great in the second fight against Stipe. Fair enough, though. I can look past the third fight because DC legitimately was like 42 years old. And how old was Stipe in 2020? Stipe was what, like 39? Stipe wasn't even 40 when he fought DC the third time. People act like, I remember for whatever reason, people were literally acting like Stipe was like 40 years old when he was fighting DC, but Stipe wasn't even that old. So it's not that bad of a look for DC to lose to him in the trilogy at all. It's not even that bad. But again, you guys are going to sit here and tell me Anderson Silva is not that great of a win for DC. He took him on like 3 days' notice, man. If it was Anderson Silva on a full camp, he'd still be old, but it would be a decent win. But the fact is, he took him on 3 days. Hardly prepared. Why do you put so much into people who beat... Okay, wait. Thank you for the $5, Hardy. Why do you put so much into who people beat rather than the eye test of fighters' actual skill versus another fighter's skill? I mean, I do, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with resume. Like, we can look at someone's resume and determine who's better all time, like who has the better MMA resume, who has the better legacy, who did more impressive feats in the sport. You can't necessarily measure that just based on who has the slicker footwork. You know what I mean? You can't necessarily do that. I mean, Khabib is probably the best grappler on the all-time list. I would say Khabib's a better grappler than anyone in the top 5 overall, but he's not higher than GSP. He's not higher than Jones. But yeah, I mean, most skilled of all time is a different question. That's just harder to judge. Your predictions are so bad, MMA Guru is better. Okay, thank you for the $2. I appreciate the support, Andrew, but my predictions have been pretty good recently. They've been pretty decent. So why is John Jones higher than Volk if Jones's resume is middleweight plumbers? Well, his resume isn't middleweight plumbers. And I think it's a misconception that Jones beat people when they were old as fuck. Like, Jones was beating Shogun, Rampage, Lyoto. All of them were in their mid-30s. Not late 30s, mid-30s. And they all had really good records going into that fight. Fair enough, Jones had a crazy size advantage. People act like these guys were literally 50 years old, which they weren't. Then he beat Daniel Cormier, which he outclassed him for 5 rounds. DC is an amazing win. The win aged well. He beat Alexander Gustafsson twice. DC beat him once and arguably lost the fight. Jones easily won the second fight against Gus. Won the first. I don't think it was a robbery. He beat Surogan, who was undefeated, had beat Francis Ngannou, moving up a weight class. So, I mean, like, to say, why do I say that Jones is better than Volk? Because he's just done more. And his wins are really good. He doesn't have a win over someone like Aldo, but he has enough quantity and quality combined. DC cheated to beat Stipe, hit him on the side eye. Yeah. He hit him on the side he had just poked. That is true. But, you know, it wasn't directly after. It wasn't like a second after he poked him. It wasn't like Nursultan versus Cedricus Dumas, you know. But it was still bad, I agree. But I still count the win. The one time, you know, that Stipe fight with Stefan Struve is worse than DC poking Stipe. That's one of the worst TKOs. I mean, like, it's one of the most blatant eye poke TKOs. Thank you for the 5